Why $3 million feels different than you expect. Picture this for a second. You're sitting in traffic, or maybe you're just lying in bed at 11 at night, scrolling through your bank app for the third time that day, and you start doing that thing. You know the thing, where you imagine what life looks like if you just had enough. Not rich, just enough that the knot in your stomach finally loosens. And for a lot of people, honestly, the number that pops into their head is $3 million. It feels like a finish line, doesn't it? Like if you could just get there, everything downstream. The stress, the second guessing, the mental math you do every single time you buy something. All of it just quietly disappears. And I'll be straight with you. I used to think the exact same thing. I remember doing this napkin math on my lunch break at a job that, let's just say, wasn't exactly lighting me up inside, trying to figure out how many years it would take to hit that number, like it was some kind of level up in a video game. Get to 3 million, unlock peace. That was the whole plan. Here's the thing though, and this is really what I want to unpack with you today. $3 million doesn't do what you think it's going to do. It's not that it doesn't change your life, because it absolutely does. But it changes it in ways that are almost the opposite of what you'd expect. Not worse, necessarily, just different. Quieter in some places, louder in others, in spots you'd never think to look. And understanding that now, before you get anywhere close, might genuinely be the most useful thing you hear all year, because it means you stop waiting for a number to save you and start actually building the life you're picturing, piece by piece, starting today. So let's get into it. The number in your head isn't the number in reality. Most people picture 3 million as this endless well of money. Yachts, spontaneous flights, never checking a price tag again. But here's the boring, slightly deflating math behind it. If you follow the classic 4% withdrawal guideline, $3 million generates around $120,000 a year before taxes. That's a genuinely good income, don't get me wrong, but it's not infinite. It's not buy whatever, whenever money, especially once you factor in a mortgage, a couple of kids, healthcare, maybe college tuition somewhere down the line. I think about this friend of mine, well, friend of a friend, really, who spent years fantasizing about hitting 7 figures. And when she finally crossed into that territory, she caught herself still comparing prices between 2 jars of pasta sauce at the grocery store. Old habits, right? The number changed. The instinct didn't. And that's the first crack in the fantasy. Money is a machine that produces income, not a magic switch that turns off the part of your brain that does math. The person who arrives isn't the person who dreamed. Here's something nobody really tells you. By the time you actually reach a number like this, you're probably not the same person who first dreamed about it. Maybe you were 25 when you first imagined freedom, but you don't usually get to 3 million at 25. You get there at 45 or 55 after decades of decisions that quietly reshaped what enough even means to you. This is the hedonic treadmill thing, and it's sneaky. Someone hits $1 million and feels fine. Not euphoric, just fine. So the goalpost moves to 2 million, then 3. I've talked to people who described hitting big milestones and feeling almost nothing, like watching an odometer roll over. The number kept climbing, but their internal enough kept climbing right alongside it, like it was chasing the number rather than waiting for it. The takeaway here, and I really want you to sit with this one, is that you have to define your version of enough now, at whatever income you're at today, rather than assuming a future number will define it for you. Contentment is a practice. It's not a prize you unlock. There's an invisible tax nobody warns you about. More money, weirdly, comes with more decisions. Taxes get more complicated. Estate planning becomes an actual conversation instead of something you'll get to eventually. And then there's the social layer. People find out, or they suspect, and suddenly you're the family member who gets the hesitant text message. That opens with, "Hey, so, this is awkward, but..." I'm only half joking when I say this is one of the more exhausting parts of building wealth that almost nobody puts in a YouTube thumbnail. It's not glamorous. It's spreadsheets and phone calls and gently, kindly setting boundaries with people you love. And honestly, That last part is harder than any spreadsheet will ever be. Money doesn't just change your bank balance, it changes the dynamic in rooms you've been sitting in your whole life. Suddenly, you're the rich one at Thanksgiving, whether you feel rich or not. And that label carries its own strange weight. If you're building toward a number like this, it genuinely helps to think ahead about how you'll handle those conversations, so you're not improvising them in the moment, flustered, while someone's waiting on an answer, and you're just standing there doing math in your head. The anxiety doesn't disappear, it just relocates. This might be the biggest myth of all. People assume that once you hit 3 million, the money anxiety just evaporates. It doesn't. It relocates. Instead of worrying about covering rent, you start worrying about sequence of returns risk, or whether a market downturn right as you retire could quietly unravel decades of work. Instead of stressing over a $500 car repair, you're stressing over whether your number is still safe against inflation 20 years from now. It's a bit like moving from a cramped apartment into a much bigger house. You think the clutter problem is solved, but no, the clutter just spreads out and finds new rooms to live in. The size of the space changes. The underlying tendency doesn't, unless you actually deal with it. Financial peace, it turns out, is a skill you build, not a balance you reach. What actually does change, and it's real. Now, I don't want this to sound like money doesn't matter, because that would be dishonest. And honestly, a little insulting to anyone still grinding toward their first 50,000. Real things do change at this level. The genuine gift of a number like 3 million isn't extravagance. It's optionality. It's being able to say no to a job that drains you. It's not lying awake over a surprise medical bill. It's choosing work because you want to, not because rent is due in 9 days. That shift is real, and it's honestly kind of beautiful when you see it happen to someone. But notice, it's quiet. It doesn't look like the movies. It looks like someone finally exhaling. The identity gap most people don't see coming. Here's a strange, almost uncomfortable truth. Some people reach a number like this and feel oddly empty, not because the money failed them, but because their entire identity had been built around the chase itself. I've heard stories of people who hit their number, retired, and then spent months feeling unmoored, like a ship that finally reached the harbor, and realized it didn't actually know what to do once it got there. If your whole sense of purpose is get to the number, you should ask yourself now, genuinely, not rhetorically, what you're chasing it for. What does a Tuesday look like for you once the chase is over? Not a vacation Tuesday, a regular one. 9 in the morning, nothing due, no one needing anything from you. Does that sound peaceful, or does it sound, honestly, a little terrifying? I think a lot of us avoid answering that question because the chase itself is comfortable. It gives you a reason to get up, a scoreboard to check. Take the scoreboard away, and some people realize they never actually built anything underneath it. That's not a trick question. It's maybe the most important one in this whole video. Building the life now, not later. So what do you actually do with all this? Honestly, the most useful move is to start practicing the life you imagine at 3 million using the income you have right now. Automate your investing so the decision-making gets out of your way. Build habits of contentment instead of habits of comparison. Find purpose outside of your bank balance before you have millions in it, not after. Because wealth, in my experience, doesn't fix who you are. It just hands you a magnifying glass and points it at whoever you already were, bringing it home. So, why does 3 million feel different than you'd expect? Because it's not a finish line. It's a mirror. It changes your options, your flexibility, your ability to breathe a little easier when life throws something unexpected at you. And that part is genuinely wonderful. But it doesn't erase anxiety, it doesn't hand you an identity, and it definitely doesn't replace the quiet, unglamorous work of figuring out what enough actually means to you. If there's one thing I gently ask you to carry out of this video, it's this. Don't wait for a number to give you permission to feel at peace. Start building that person now, a little at a time, with whatever you've got today. Because when the number does eventually show up, and it might take longer than you'd like, that's honestly fine. You'll already know exactly who you're becoming. And that, more than any account balance, is the part that actually changes everything.